All right, welcome to our first lesson of the year. So Intro to Algebra 1. Let's start with adding and subtracting integers in our operations on integers section. So we can use a number line to add and subtract integers. In general, if you're adding a positive number, you move to the right. If you're adding a negative number, you move to the left. So in these examples here, we can see that this is happening. In the first example, -3 plus 6, we can see we start here at -3, and then we are moving 6 units to the right. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lands us at 3, so my answer is 3. For the second question, we start out on the number line at -4. Here's our starting point, -4. We're adding a negative number. We're adding -5 to it, so it moves us 5 units to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's our answer, -9. Okay, so when we're adding numbers with the same sign, you're basically just adding those numbers together and keeping the sign the same. That's the same exact method as this number line method. So if we scroll down and look at the notes down here, we can see that in the examples. Okay, so in the examples, 8 plus 7, we would start at 8, move 7 to the right, we get 15. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking, well, don't we have a calculator at this point? And yes, you do have your calculator. This is just a rerun through the rules. -6 plus -10, you start at -6, go 10 to the left, that's -16. 14 plus 2, you start at 14, go 2 to the right, that'll give you 16. And -1 plus -4, you start at -1, you go 4 to the left, that brings you to -5, and so on, okay? So then if we change up the types of problems that we have, we might have some different rules. So if we add two numbers with different signs, the rules change. Now, the rules are just going to get a little bit tricky, so we have to either understand this method or understand the number line method. Here's this crazy rule. To add two numbers with different signs, subtract the lesser absolute value from the greater absolute value. The sum has the same sign as the number with the greater absolute value. That's a lot. Basically, what you do is you subtract these two numbers if they have different signs. Number one, that 12 is a -12. The 7 is a +7. Because they have different signs, you subtract them. 12 minus 7. I just pick the bigger number and I just make that +12 minus 7. I get 5. And then you have to decide if the answer is a +5 or a -5. Well, I know it's a -5 because you're only adding 7 to a -12. In order to reach 0 and then become a positive number, you have to at least add 12 to -12. So because you're only adding 7, you're not getting to 0 yet, so you're still going to be at a negative number. Now, if you don't understand that method and you would prefer to just use the number line method, let's look at number 2. You would start at 18 on the number line and you would move to the left 4. So that would bring you to a +14. Number 3, depending on what type of method you like, -8 plus 7 is a -1, and then 8 plus -11 is going to be a -3. Okay, well, we do have our calculators, but this is just a rerun through those rules. All right, moving on to the next section, we have some properties. So the properties of addition. We have the commutative property, the associative property, identity property, and inverse property. So the commutative property means if you take a number A and add a number B to it, it's the same thing as taking B and adding A. If you flip the order, you get the same exact answer. Like 2 plus 1 equals 3, and if you switch the 2 and the 1, 1 plus 2 still equals 3. The associative property means if you group certain numbers in parentheses and you add a number on the outside, like A plus B plus C, that's the same thing as taking A and adding it to the grouping of B plus C. The identity property of addition means you take any number A and you add 0 to it, and it's still itself. The inverse property means you take any number A, you add the opposite of it, which is -A, and it brings you to 0.